Hi, I'm Angified. I started Angified Presents.
We share the love of music.
It has been medicine and therapy. Nothing else worked.
It has saved many of us. With mental health, we need to open our eyes.
Hurt people hurt people.
We ask that you listen, comprehend, and relate with your ears.
Form that heart of unity and one.
We share on this stage.
Statistics, feelings.
And ourselves.
We stand with the belief to be you, to be heard, and to be original.
We all may be different, with opinions and beliefs.
At the end of the day, we are all brothers and sisters.
We are family.
We ask that you join us in a magical journey with artists from around the world. Open your minds, let in the love,
and listen with your hearts.
We all want a better tomorrow. Be one.
Communicate and look out for one another. And then, and only then, will you find the world.
We will find peace in all the world.
You'll find the world. And you will find this shining world. He was among us in every boy and girl. Many have been broken, red hearts turn black. Love will melt the ice and turn it back, and you will find the world. You will find the world. You will find the world. And when you find a place called home, where everyone is free to roam, a whole new world, a better place for our children's futures at stake. And you'll find, with music in your soul, laughter in your hearts, together we can grow a better place, with love in us all. And you will find, together we can save it all. And you will find a place called home, where everyone is free to roam, a better place, a whole new world.
Rawr.
We cover digital audio workstations and music tools. We explore theory, gear at 82. How to arrange, compose, and the art of arranging. Taking a look at AI and how the times have changed. On a PC or a Mac and even with a mobile device, we'll be talking about it all every Thursday night. From software to plugins and synths that entice. Dive deep into tech and let creativity take flight. Talkin IT. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. From bedroom producers to seasoned pros, we're breaking it down so knowledge grows. Whether you're a DJ or a beat making wizard, we got the tips and tricks to make your sound sizzle. Mixing and mastering, that's our jam. With the tutorials and tips on how much RAM. Get the best quality from your setup and gear. Tune in every week and lend us your ear. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. We're talking IT. We're talking IT. Every Thursday night on Angified.
Oh, when you hear those brass, the show starts.
That's right. Another Thursday night right here.
Yeah, and we're going to be looking at some cool technology tonight. I know you're going to like it because it's not just for guitarists. It also applies to bassists.
Oh, yeah. Works for everybody.
It actually works for singers and keyboardists too in a certain way. But for guitarists and bassists, it's definitely some cool technology. We've been... I've gone down a couple rabbit holes over the weekend. Maeve, I got a new toy. It's got NAMM import, and I'd heard the term in the past because it's been making noise for a couple of years now. And before that, you remember last year when we covered impulse response technology, which you model a cabinet with a mic and you can create an IR preset, import it into a whole bunch of new toys, and now you sound like you got a Marshall stack.
Yep.
This is neural amp modeling, and I think this is the future when it comes to not having to spend $10,000 to sound like $10,000 on a guitar.
Yeah. And even just the ability to sound like multiple different stacks. Like you can get that signature sound from a Marshall stack or a signature sound from this, Tweed amp or whatever. Like you can get all those different sounds that you're looking for without having to have all that physically taking up space in the house.
Yeah, what I'm seeing with some of the people that are utilizing it effectively, they're mixing multiple modelers and presets to. It's a new way of tone sculpting where it's like, hey, get me the Marshall, get me the Peavey. It's a cool way of making your tones in the future for effects.
Yeah. And like when you're doing that, when you're mixing like that, essentially you're, it's like taking your signal chain, splitting it out into the two different stacks and then having them each mic'd up and then just deciding how much you're going to mix each stack in. You can blend more of this stack or more of that stack to get the tone how you want it. But in this case, again, you don't have to do all that excessive wiring and have the interference and all those other problems that you could have with, stuff like that. You just do it all within the software.
Wait till you see one of the toys. That's where we'll go to the cave. I'll show you. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Where are we?
There we are.
I need to see.
Much better.
So, it's kind of a guitar night, but at the same time, like I said, this doesn't just apply to guitars. It's just the guitarists out there right now that are like, this is cool. And I'm sure the other musicians are going to find a use for this stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
And before we start, I do want to give a shout out here at Spectre Sound Studio, Glenn Fricker, the other musical Glenn out there.
That's right.
The reason why I decided to go down this rabbit hole is me and Jason were watching this video. Amp Sims are over, and when Glenn says it, just like you, it's kind of like, damn, I better take this serious.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're interested in this technology, you want to check out this video because he gets to talk to one of the developers of this NAM technology, and they explain why now you're hearing guitarists say, okay, now we can take NAM serious. This A2 update that's come out, it has decreased the amount of CPU, and they're utilizing ARM processors in a really effective way, which means you can build one of these $10 between the hardware and building a pedal, and you're going to start seeing some cheap NAM importers that are going to sound incredible.
Nice. I love it already.
Well worth watching that one after. You get to hear from the development mindset on this technology.
Right.
But to start, we're going to start with a little bit of news. You know, Fender. We've been covering the Fender situation for last month and a half, 2 months, since it all started blowing up and people started getting ceased and desist guitar manufacturers for certain style bodies. And Guitar History Network, we actually found them during this hunt. Fender just went after the biggest guitar company on earth. And you know, when we watched it, the news before, we said when they send a cease and a desist to somebody with actual lawyers, it's on.
Yeah, exactly.
I won't tell you who it is, but you can probably guess.
You have a pretty good idea.
There's only a couple of big guitar manufacturers out there. And another one for news. I love Sweetwater. You know, if you're gonna look for gear and you want some of the best customer support you're ever gonna get from a music store, they kick ass, and they're opening up stores, man. And I wish I was close enough to one, but I get to go to one tonight. They're gonna give us a tour of your Sweetwater store in 2026. This is my playground.
Very cool.
Then we're going to get into the neural amp modelers and what they are, how they work. This one, the Studio Rat's Freshie for us. He's going to look at it for the same question they've been asking for a couple of years now. Are they as good as some people claim they are? Up until this new revision, this A2 revision, a lot of the serious guitarists weren't sold on it. Just like with IR, it's useful, it can serve a purpose, but this isn't going to make me replace my other solutions.
Right.
But here we're going to see if they're as good as they say they are with the Rats, and then talk about this new update, Music for Miles. It's another one we found on a guitar night, and he's going to explain this A2 release, and it might kill those $2,000 helixes and other devices that up till now you kind of had to spend that much to hit the stage with this kind of technology.
And that was kind of the point, was the if you're hitting the stage, or if you're hitting the studio, or if you're going somewhere that you need to be serious about not having a problem with the gear, that's one of the reasons that people say they're not replacing their actual physical pedal board, because they've been using it, it's tried and true, and this is, they don't want to replace it with something that could have software problems or whatever. So I understand the hesitation to replace something, but at the same time, if something does seem bulletproof, solid, and can take the stage, the studio, everything, then this would be the answer.
Yeah, and if you are in the studio, you can utilize this technology through the PC. You don't need something special to play around with this technology.
Mhm.
But if you want to be able to take that tone on the stage and reliably, and oh no, my effects pedal crashed.
Exactly.
That's where these guitars are talking about, these nice little stomp boxes with cheap processors. The cost of the actual like electronics is not expensive, and hopefully the pedal itself is built like a tank.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Hmm. So Music
Build it
for
like an X
Miles,
arcade joysticks.
he's gonna let us know what's up with this A2 release, and then for the last one, it there's one particular piece of gear as I'm searching for utilizing this in something reliable on stage.
Mhm.
The one that a lot of them all talk about is this quad Cortex, which is from Neural DSP. And um, if you're familiar with their plugins and how useful they are, especially for bass tone, the Parallax is Jason's go-to on the bass side. They're the ones behind the quad Cortex, and if it's going through this upgrade too, and it's not super expensive, it's under $200 or around $200 ish, but for what it does, that $2,000 Helix is in trouble here.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is another freshie, Keon Hushman Live, and he's going to be doing a clinic in string theory. He's going to mention it in the video, and I'm dying to see what this quad Cortex can do for its price range.
Yeah, for sure.
I like when we get a good review.
Definitely.
But first, we're going to get some news. and Guitar History Network, and this channel has been kicking ass on the Fender coverage.
Yeah, yeah.
They've been keeping up with it, and I've been following that since you told me about it. So
Yeah.
at Guitar History Network is going to talk about the the biggest guitar company on earth got a cease and desist, and I am very curious as to how their lawyers are going to respond to this.
I don't think they're going to roll over. And again, to me, it all comes down to why did it take 50 years to complain about it? You know, that's really the one sticking point that I don't see them getting around. But again, yeah, I am not a lawyer, so
Yeah. Yeah, well, this technically is when Davey does go fight Goliath because they're going to need a big ass slingshot to deal with this company.
yeah, they may have picked a big fight.
Yeah, they're not just a guitar company.
Nobody saw this coming. Not the players, not the builders, not even the people inside the guitar industry who have been tracking this story for months. Because up until a few days ago, everyone assumed they knew exactly how far Fender was willing to take this fight. Small builders, boutique shops, a dealer here, a retailer there. Companies big enough to matter, but never big enough to actually push back. Then the name Yamaha showed up in the headlines, and the entire guitar community stopped scrolling. Yamaha, the largest musical instrument maker on planet Earth. A company that builds pianos, drums, motorcycles, and some of the most beloved beginner electric guitars ever made. Suddenly caught up in the exact same legal fight as a 62 euro knockoff sold out of China. People are baffled. Not because Fender picked a fight, everyone already knew that was happening. They are baffled because of who Fender just picked a fight with. If you have been watching this channel for a while, you already know how we got here, so let's move through it quickly. Back in December of 2025, Fender quietly won a default judgment in a German court after a Chinese seller on AliExpress got caught selling near identical Stratocaster copies for around 62 euros and never even showed up to defend the case. Because the seller went silent, the court ruled entirely on Fender's version of events, and the outcome was strict. Anyone caught doing the same thing could face fines of up to 250,000 euros per infringement, or even jail time if those fines go unpaid. But the real headline wasn't the penalty, it was the reasoning behind it. That ruling said the Stratocaster body itself, the actual shape, counts as a protected creative work under German and European copyright law. Nobody noticed for months. Then, in March of 2026, the story broke wide open, and Fender started sending cease and desist letters. LSL Instruments, PRS Guitars, and their John Mayer designed Silver Sky. A dealer called Cool Old Guitars, all the way in Australia. Even Thomann, the largest music instrument retailer in the world, ended up firing back with its own legal action against Fender. Through all of it, Fender's CEO, Edward Cole, kept telling the public that the company wanted to work things out directly with builders, not shut anyone down. And through all of it, the letters kept going out anyway. That's the recap. Here's what's actually new. Yamaha has now been confirmed as one of the companies to receive a cease and desist letter from Fender. Sit with that for a second, because this is not the same story with a new name plugged in. Yamaha is not a boutique builder. Yamaha is not a specialty dealer. Yamaha is the largest musical instrument maker on the entire planet. Pianos, drums, brass instruments, keyboards, motorcycles, and yes, some of the most beloved electric guitars ever built for the price. Every previous target in this saga, no matter how respected, still operated on a smaller scale than Fender itself. Yamaha does not. This is the first time Fender has picked a fight with a company that could genuinely go toe-to-toe with them if this actually escalates. To put that in perspective, every single builder Fender has gone after so far, no matter how well respected, could be pressured into backing down simply because the cost of fighting a German copyright case would be more than the business itself is worth. Yamaha does not have that problem. This is a company with the legal budget, the international footprint, and honestly the motivation to let a case like this run all the way to a final judgment if it decides that's the smarter long-term move. For the first time since this whole campaign began, Fender is not just choosing who to send a letter to. It may be choosing who gets to answer back. The guitar at the center of it is almost certainly the Pacifica. If you have been around guitars for any length of time, there's a very good chance you either owned one, taught someone on one, or recommended one to a beginner at some point over the last 3 decades. The Pacifica launched back in 1991, built for the LA session scene. Designed as Yamaha's answer to the whole superstrat movement that was dominating rock and metal at the time. Yamaha's own product team has said the original goal was building something ultra-versatile, a guitar that could cover almost any style a working player might need. And for 35 years, that is basically what it did. The Pacifica 112 in particular became something close to a household name, the guitar plenty of people cut their teeth on before ever affording something more expensive. In 2024, Yamaha even gave the line a premium update with the Pacifica Professional, keeping the whole family relevant well into a new generation of players. According to Yamaha, the letter arrived back in May. The company has not named a specific model publicly, but has confirmed it is reviewing the notice and figuring out how to respond. No lawsuit yet. No public fight, at least not so far. Just a quiet acknowledgement that yes, this happened, and yes, they are taking it seriously. Oh, and before we go any further, if you want to keep up with every twist in this story as it happens, we are getting close to 5,000 subscribers on this channel, and stories like this one are exactly why we keep making these videos. Now here is why this particular update changes the entire shape of the story, no pun intended. Fender has now gone up against one of the largest instrument makers in the world. At the same time, it is already being sued by the largest instrument retailer in the world. That is not a small skirmish anymore. That is Fender picking fights on 2 fronts with 2 giants over the exact same underlying question. Can a shape that has been copied for 70 years, a shape that an American court once called too generic to even trademark back in 2009, now be used to control who gets to build electric guitars that look a certain way? And that question matters more than ever, because the entire legal foundation for this campaign still rests on an uncontested ruling. A case where the other side never showed up in court. Nobody has actually tested this copyright claim yet against a company with the money and the motivation to push back all the way to a final verdict. Thomann's own argument, the one it's reportedly building its case around, is that the S-style body has spent so many decades in use across so many brands that it functions more like a shared design language than a single company's original creative work. the double cutaways and body contours being closer to convention than to invention at this point. That is essentially the opposite of what the Dusseldorf court concluded. Thomann might end up being the company that forces a real answer to that disagreement. Yamaha might end up being that test instead. Or Fender might find a quiet way to avoid ever finding out and simply reach a private understanding the way it appears to be trying to do with some of the smaller builders. Think about the position Fender is actually in here. A company that has spent 70 years building extraordinary goodwill among guitar players is now spending some of that goodwill going after one of the very few companies on earth big enough to fight back in open court rather than settle quietly. If Yamaha decides to dig in, this stops being a story about cease and desist letters entirely. It becomes a real test of whether that December ruling can survive contact with an actual legal defense. Whatever happens next, this is no longer a story about one guitar shape and a handful of small builders. It is a story about how far a 70-year-old design can stretch before it either holds or breaks apart under its own weight. If you want to know how this actually plays out, then trust us, it is far from over. The only way to make sure you do not miss the next chapter is to subscribe to this channel. We will be covering every twist as it happens, the moment it happens. See you in the next one.
At Guitar History Network is covering a story that will change the shape of guitar as we know it.
Yep. And again, decades, like you were saying, a shared language more than an innovation or, a particular company's design. And, to be fair, if it was about that shape in particular and they wanted to protect that shape, they could have fought that, 70 years ago. But the fact that it's been allowed to go on through so many iterations from so many different companies without contest, is what, to me, sells the point that it just, you can't go there. But I get what happened, with the whole default ruling against somebody who didn't show up in court, and now they're using that as a precedent and springboarding from there.
And we're talking a German copyright, and we're talking about worldwide guitar building. How can one country affect the entire world's ability to do something? This reminds me of the interface, graphical interface in the early days.
Yep.
When if you look like a Windows window, then I guess in the Mac side we're just going to move some buttons around and we're not using the same shape technically. But the whole idea of operating system and a user interface is a universal kind of design. And what they're talking about here, as far as like universal guitar design, yes, that S shape designed for convenience.
Yeah. I mean, they both stole that Windows design from Xerox anyway. So
yeah, exactly. Irony.
It's a matter of who stole it better and who stole it first, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure somewhere's in that S design, it was influenced from something that had been done in the past.
Yep. And again, I mean, you could just take a solid chunk of wood and cut it however you want and make it into a guitar, and that would work. It's, they don't have to be that shape, but people chose to do that shape for several reasons. I mean, the ergonomics are there. There's reasons that everything that is about that shape is there. The cutaways for the easy access, the fact that the horn reaches out far enough so that you can get the strap out there to get it in a good, comfortable position so that it has balanced weight. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why the shape exists and works as it does.
And in a case like this, if a company wants to really go to court and make an argument, the first question is what makes a guitar sound or build what it is. And if you're talking pickups or type of wood and like certain design aesthetics, sure, you can argue about patent and things there, but the body does not tend to dictate an electric guitar's sound.
Well, at the same time, I can see the point they're making. Like if you were to look at a Ferrari, there are very specific lines there. If you were to make a Ferrari in your own backyard and use all the exact same lines, but you didn't put the Ferrari name on and you tried to go drive it around, that would not be cool, right? Like they would have
if you were to make a car that's shaped like a Ferrari, but you totally built the car yourself, your own engine design, your own frame work, if the shape of the car, it looks like a Volkswagen, it looks like a Bug. Can other manufacturers make a bug-shaped car, or
Well, that was the question. If you're making it for yourself, that's one thing. But if you're trying to sell millions of units, that's the other problem. Now you're talking about competing against Ferrari or whoever for that design.
do you think Volkswagen is going to worry if some company makes their car look like theirs but builds
Oh, yeah.
it like
Oh, yeah.
crap or builds it better?
Exactly. They would worry about both of those things, because if they build it like crap, they don't want to be associated with it. If they build it better, it's going to put them out of business. So they don't want either end of that. Like, they want to say, stop making cars that look like my car. Make your own cars.
Yeah, but that's you
I mean, I'm
eventually
saying I
become
do
a
get it.
dictator. Like nobody can use my shape. In cars and guitars, that's a tricky argument.
Well, the other question was, again, for the companies that did use that exact style, like, I mean, down to the size, the shape of the curve, every single thing about it. Why did they go with that exact shape? They could have made small changes. They could have just changed the headstock a little. They could have made the horn a little longer, a little thinner, a little flatter. Any of those changes that could have made the design enough different, just like we talk about music, making a slight change so that it's not identical, so that the algorithm doesn't say this is that song. Same
And
idea. You make a slight change and now it's your design.
it's one thing to make a change for improvement. Oh, this is more aerodynamic or something.
Right.
If you're just making a change for the sake of making a change, that's why Apple put their buttons on the left side instead of them being where everybody else knows they are.
Well, again, they had to do it because there was going to be a problem. If they put it in where everybody else has it, then all of a sudden you're copying my stuff, and now we can stop you from selling it. But if you change where they are, now all of a sudden that's different enough where they can argue on legal grounds that it is not the same.
Well, how do you prove it was copied in court? Like, look at the designs. They pretty much duplicated our blueprint versus they, well, they kind of did some standard things because making a car engine's pretty standard for the most part until you get into specifics. Guitar is the
That is
same
where
way.
they'll go to previous art, for example. Like, if you're talking about the designs that you came up for a guitar, you didn't just like take a knife to a piece of wood and come up with a final product, right? Like, you had designs, you went through iterations of designs. You can go back and show blueprints of my first sketches, my second sketches, when I made these changes and these changes. You can go back and show that entire history. Whereas if you just copied it, and you say, oh, well, this is the design we used. Well, okay, where's your previous work? Oh, well, we just started with this. Well, okay, you just started by copying this. If you can go back and show all these other iterations of where this idea came from, and if both sides can do that, it's possible that both sides came up with the same thing independently. I mean, that's happened in history. Like, people come up with scientific discoveries, and like, this guy discovered it in Germany and this guy discovered it in Japan, but they had no contact, no way of knowing each other's work, but they followed the same steps and came to the same conclusions.
I have no doubt if Fender hadn't come up with the S shape when they did, somebody would have in that decade, because electric guitars were starting to become a popular thing. And
either somebody else would have come up with the S shape, or everybody would have just coalesced around a slightly different shape. Whatever became the most popular shape. Could have been a telly, it could have been whatever.
Imagine a world where everybody's got a flying V.
Right? I mean, mine's over there. It's a Dean.
Yeah. Well, at Guitar History Network is doing a great job covering this, and also going back through the history. I'm loving this documentary style guitar history. Great channel.
Oh, yeah.
And
important stuff.
For a great store, a tour is necessary, because man, I want to go to one of these, and just looking at it from the outside.
Let me in.
Imagine a Walmart with every instrument, because Sweetwater has everything. This is the place to go if you want great customer support, awesome prices, and they actually will listen to you. When you say, this is what I'm looking to do, you will get a sales consultant there that will learn what you need and give you great advice.
And they check back in with you also. I mean, that's another one that, that shocks people at first, but like, you ordered something from us, just recently, and want to see how that's working out for you and whatever, that kind of thing.
I was talking with Wes last night about his experience with them, because he had bought a guitar like a year and a half ago, and he's like, my sales reps called me 7 times since I bought the guitar, just to make sure it's working right. I'm happy with it. And plus, they give you candy.
And the candy. I wasn't even going to bring the candy up, but it's a selling point.
Well, this one's coming from the mothership over on YouTube for them. Wow, you got 1 million Sweetwater.
Nice.
Yeah, at Sweetwater. When you're looking for new gear and information on it, they're really good at showing the different technologies, whether you're guitarist, drummer, singer, like they cover every department.
Oh yeah, the experts.
Yeah, but now I want to see these departments in in a real store. I don't have a music store anymore. The guitar centers all closed down around where I am. There's no place where I could just get any musical instrument from.
But right here you can.
And I can go online.
Exactly.
I wish I could go test it though first. That's why I want to go here.
That's why I like it too, yeah.
Whether you need a guitar pick, a full-on recording studio, or a complete touring rig, it's inside the Sweetwater Music Store. It's set up sort of like a mall where we have different spaces for the categories of instruments and equipment. We've got a headphone wall where you can compare more than 50 types of headphones. We've got accessories, we've got stands, and of course, everything else any musician, engineer, producer, content creator, or DJ needs. The store's been here for something like 5 years, but it's changing on literally a daily basis. There are new things being featured, and in fact, stick around because later in this video, we'll be showing you 2 brand new spaces within the Sweetwater Music Store. Let's go inside and take a closer look. There is something awesome to discover in every single room here in the Sweetwater Music Store. In the acoustic guitar room behind me, we've got much more than just steel string guitars. We've also got nylon strings, we've got mandolins, we've got banjos, we've got acoustic instrument amplifiers. Anything you could want for your acoustic instruments is inside this room. Plus, the room has been tuned to sound fantastic when you're auditioning an instrument. I stopped counting at more than 100 guitars on the wall in here. There's so many to try. And you can call up any instrument from our massive warehouse. They'll bring it up for you to audition right here inside this room. Great deal on a piece of pre-loved equipment. The used gear section here in the music store is a great place to come. We've got everything from guitars to basses to microphones to pedals to even banjos. Anything you might need, there's a pre-loved piece of gear in here that's waiting for you to pick it up. In the service and repair department in the Sweetwater Music Store, we can cover anything related to your instruments. We can restring guitars, we can do electronic repair, we can even pleck your frets so your instrument plays fantastic. Welcome to the recording room. In here you'll find everything you need for making fantastic recordings. We've got an incredible selection of microphones, outboard gear. You've got a DAW set up behind me. Check this out, super cool feature. You can easily audition any of the studio monitors on the wall just by hitting this touch screen. This room has also been acoustically treated so you can accurately hear what you're checking out. Some of the details include gorgeous acoustic clouds on the ceiling. We've got cameras, we've got lighting, we've got microphone stands. Immersive audio room is located. Come check this out with me. It's an absolutely stunning room. Hey, Jordan. Let me introduce you to Jordan Swartzendruber. Great to see you, buddy.
Hey, Mitch. Good to see you too.
Working hard, clearly.
You know, somebody has to test the immersive audio in here, so I take on the tough job of doing that.
This is an astounding room.
It's incredible.
I mean, you were playing games, but it's also set up for full video. It's a 7.1.4.
A 9.4.4.
Well, there you go, 9.4.4 with complete acoustic treatment. I've been in here when they've got it cranked up with a movie playing. It is fantastic.
Yeah, it's another world of immersive audio. It's pretty incredible.
And it's just an example of the kind of things we can do here at Sweetwater for specking out, recommending, and even installing immersive audio systems.
Right. I mean, this was a custom-built room here at Sweetwater just to show off everything it can do here. Like you said, what can be done in your home.
Now you've got more exciting news for us today.
Yeah, we're starting a brand new YouTube channel focused on home audio. So equipment like this, like you would see with immersive audio, but then also things like bookshelf speakers, floor standing speakers, turntables, headphones, just anything you could imagine in your home. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, head over and check out Sweetwater Home Audio.
And I highly recommend that you make a trip here to Fort Wayne and stop into this immersive room because you've never heard anything like it. Another new space here in the Sweetwater Music Store is the home audio room. In this space, you'll find everything from cassette player recorders to speakers to sound bars to receivers to turntables. We've got everything you need to equip your home for fantastic sound. To learn more about this home audio room as well as the immersive audio room, head over to the Sweetwater Home Audio channel and check out the in-depth tour that Jordan did for us. Whether you're looking to purchase or rent a band or orchestra instrument, this is the room to come to in the Sweetwater Music Store. We've got brass instruments, we've got woodwinds, we've got strings, we've got marimbas, we've got everything you need to outfit your student or professional player for band and orchestra. A cool feature of this room is the 2 demo rooms off to my left. Not only are those sound treated so that they sound fantastic, they also have an ambient system in them so you can hear what you sound like in an auditorium or in a studio or in a bedroom. The piano and keyboard room here at Sweetwater features an incredible array of instruments. A piano to fit every budget, uprights, grand pianos of every size. The room's been acoustically treated so they sound fantastic when you come in to audition them as well. There's even a keyboard on the ceiling. More than 45 years ago, the first brand that Sweetwater carried was Kurzweil keyboards. We still carry Kurzweil as well as a huge number of other brands, an incredible amount of instruments, and they're all in this space so you can check out all the music technology. We've got everything from Eurorack to synthesizers to stage keyboards, everything in between. It's all in this space. It's so much fun. The Sweetwater Music Store has become a destination for musicians and audio fanatics from around the world. I hope you'll make a visit out and check it out in person. It's an incredible space, and there's so much to see in there. Thanks for joining me today for this tour of the Sweetwater Music Store. I'm Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater.
All right, Fort Wayne, let's get tickets.
Yes, Ange, we're going to need a couple of them.
We're there, dude.
I feel smitten. I just met the most beautiful store that I've ever met. I'm going to marry that store.
They really put a lot of time and effort into that for sure.
And they finished with the keyboard room. You talk about like, I was sold at the beginning just with the used equipment, but the keyboard room and the piano room.
Yeah, I knew they'd get you with that. For sure.
I would work for free for you.
Just to visit the store.
And it's so professional, just like they are. They're so professionally done, and the way they segmented off each of the sections. The education section, man, I wish I was a kid that lived next to there. It'd be like, Mommy, I want to go there every week for a lesson.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like you said, that touchscreen system to test all the speakers or to test this and that, like match this to this, or you jump in the bass room. Hey, let's try that head and let's try this one over here.
And that's the pain in the ass when you go into most music stores, when you want to test speakers and things. A lot of times nothing's routed and it's like, oh, I really want to get these, but the engineer has to do something to get those speakers so that you can test them. Just throw me a touch screen and yes, I want to hear those. Oh no, I want to hear these. Like now I want to hear both.
Yep. And then the headphone room, the headphone wall, and all that. Good stuff. Got to be able to hear what it sounds like.
I think Maha's got a plan here.
Nice.
Yes, let's do that. I would invest in Sweetwater as a investor. This is a music company that thank God we have nowadays, because I've gone through evolutions in where I get my gear from, and it got a little crazy there in the early 2000s, and mail order took over. Thankfully, Sweetwater has handled things across the board.
Yeah. And I'm with you. Like I like to go put my hands on something before I actually go buy it. I'll do my research first. I'll go online. I'll check this. I'll check that. I'll check people's opinions. But I really do want to actually touch the instrument and actually try it out in myself. See how it works for my hands. That
especially when you're talking like guitars and things like that, where action and how does it. My keyboard, I took 6 months of testing the weighted action before I said yes, I'll buy it.
Exactly. And with the Salviano that we got my dad, that was one that we just knew right off the bat. It was just going to be an amazing one, right off the bat. So excellent stuff.
Some instruments call to me. If I sit down at it and I start doing something I've never done before, I'm like, I like this instrument.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like, for my buddy Mike, it was a 12 string. Like there was a particular 12 string. He went to a store one day and started playing this 12 string and just like made up a song on the spot on the 12 string and just bought that 12 string because that's the way that stuff works. So
yeah, and
it inspired something.
12 strings are trickier. Like you really do got to try a couple of them to find one that you're going to like, because some of them hurt. Some of them sound like shit. You really got to get the one that responds to you.
And stays in tune, because it's, again, that many strings, it's just, twice as much of a burden to keep it in tune. And it's really noticeable when it's out.
Yeah. Oh, what is YouTube doing?
It says no.
The page was already loaded, so that was at Sweetwater. Thank you for that tour. We are going to have to head to Texas, Angie, at some point.
Sounds fair.
Yeah, and if we're going to be buying stuff from there, we're shifting into the neural amp modeling portion. When it comes to the hardware, we're going to look at that at the end, and that's where I'd go to Sweetwater for. But to understand what neural amp modelers are and whether they live up to the hype, and this one's not that old. It's 1 month ago. So he's probably talking from a A2 generation perspective, because not all studio rats are saying the same thing in their early days of it, but it's developing really fast.
Right.
But at the studio rats, fresh new channel, he's gonna tell us a little bit about what a neural amp modeler is and whether it's useful.
I like it.
Hi, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. Right, NAMM, or Neural Amp Modeler, have just released their A2 tech, a way of capturing an amplifier. It does get very confusing. Neural amp modeling is nothing to do with Neural DSP, completely separate companies, although they do the same thing. Completely confusing. Anyway, the NAMM, or the NAMM Profiler, is a way of capturing a static tone from your amplifier. and then playing that tone back via your computer or via a NAMM playback device. One of the reasons why NAMM is so great, first of all, it's free, so you can capture your amplifier or buy captures or get captures from other people and then play those captures back on your computer or through a player. So to test out their new A2 tech, I've got my Friedman Small Box custom shop. This is the same as the Wildwood edition. It's a 3-channel Friedman Small Box, does everything from amazing sort of plexi cleans to quite high gain sort of B100, Friedman B100 sort of tones. Really great sounding amplifier. So I'm going to create 10 separate captures of my small box and then load them into the neural amp modeler, and these files are going to be available on our website. So what I thought I'd do, because this is fairly confusing, I thought I'd show you how we capture an amplifier using the NAMM profiling software. Now, if you want to download these captures, you don't need to do anything that I'm doing today. I'm just showing you how we create these captures. All you need to do if you want to use these captures is to go onto the Tone 3000 website and download the NAMM player, which I think now is called Gateway, but I'll explain all of that a little bit later on. But I'll leave a link for that plugin in the notes below. So what you have to do, you have to go on to Tone 3000, which is a website, and you download this file here. Now this file that I've got here is what gets played into your amplifier. Your amplifier is then captured via a microphone or via a load box, and then captured back into your DAW. It is really confusing, and as I'm trying to relay how to do it, it does seem incredibly complicated. So it's a bit of a shame that NAMM hasn't actually got a dedicated box that you plug your amplifier into, something like Quad Cortex, and it does all that capturing. But as I said, it is free. So enough of me waffling on. I'm going to capture this tone out of my Friedman Small Box. So I'll quickly explain how I'm doing this. As I said, I've got this file here. That's routed via my interface into a reamp box. The reamp box is then plugged into the input of the Friedman Small Box. The Friedman Small Box is plugged into a cabinet. The cabinet has a microphone in front of it, and then we're recording that microphone signal back into my DAW. So everything is routed correctly. Let's play this audio file up here into my amp and then get it back into the DAW. Right, so there we go. So there is the file of those weird sort of bleeps and bloops that has been sent out of my DAW through the interface, through a reamp box, back into the amplifier, or into the amplifier, out to the speaker, through a microphone, captured through the microphone, back into my DAW. Right, then what we have to do is to export this file. So I'm going to do that. Now, I've been working all morning creating a capture pack. This is available on our website if you want to go and check it out. As I said, I'll leave a link in the notes below, but I've created 10 different captures of the small box. Now, what you have to do is to get those files and to drag them into the website on Tone 3000. That does all the processing, and then you can download, after they've all been processed, you can then download these files. This is incredibly confusing, and I can see why loads of people don't even bother doing this. But in a minute, we'll see how they sound. We'll compare them against the amplifier, and we'll see if it's actually worth doing. Okay, so what I've done, I've set up 2 versions of the plugin. Now, it has got a little bit confusing because with the old NAMM plugin, it used to be called NAMM, I think, and now it's called Gateway, so it took me ages to find it in my plugins. I've loaded up 2 separate versions of this. I've got a clean setting, which I've got the exact same clean setting on my Friedman Small Box, and I've got an overdrive setting, the exact overdrive setting that I've got on my small box. So let's have a look at the overdrive first. Now, if I play the amp, that sounds like that. Now, if I play the NAMM capture, I've got to be honest, that's probably the most accurate capture that I've heard out of any device so far. That sounds exactly the same to my ears anyway. I'll have to compare it back when I'm editing the video. So let's try it using the clean setting on the amp. So here's the amp. And now let's hear the NAND capture of that exact sound. Unlike a lot of capture devices, the sustain dies off in a really natural way. Now I've noticed that with a few capture devices, as the sustain is dying off, it does create some artifacts. So there's no artifacts there that I can hear at all. So that's really impressive. Now this is using the new A2 NAM modeling technology, whatever they're using. So if you want to use it, you've got to download this gateway plugin. It's all on Tone 3000 website. So if you want to go and download that, I'll leave a link in the notes. So if you guys want to go and download anything, you can do. It's really impressive. It is said that this is the most accurate way of capturing an amplifier. And there's all this gumph about how it's so much better than neural DSP and especially Proxy and ToneX, etc. I think it sounds pretty damn good, and the fact that it's free and the plugin's free and you can use it inside your DAW just makes it a win-win. Now loads of hardware manufacturers are starting to use or starting to incorporate the NAM platform into their hardware, so you can load these NAM captures into a piece of hardware and then play them back through all the effects, etc. And I do think they sound absolutely fantastic. Anyway, I'll leave all the details for Tone 3000 in the notes below, the NAM captures, etc. This is not a sponsored video. They don't know I'm making this, but I just thought I'd do it just so I could create a pack and demonstrate the new software. Anyway, I really hope you guys got something out of this. If you did get something out of it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click on the bell button and you'll be notified of any future video that comes out from the Studio Rats. I'm Paul, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Oh, cheers, Paul. That was an awesome demonstration.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
So close. And I'm now starting to hear why all these new reviews with this A2 that they're saying is like, wow, we're getting there. The only thing, the process of making them is not as fun as using them. That's clear.
One thing was good is that, as complicated as it is, and as complicated as he, explained that it is a pretty basic setup in terms of, when you do follow the signal path the way that we do, because, we're technology guys. So like we follow that kind of thing. It's like, from here to here to here to here. And then you get it, watching them play the tones through the thing, watching them, get the recording back, making sure the levels are good on that. Like all these things all feed into getting a good capture. And then once you've got that good capture, then, playing it back is just, it's like you have the amp there.
Yeah. Yeah. And as he mentioned, loads of companies are incorporating this technology. It's hot. Like right now, it's a great technology to add to guitar effects processors and things for stage, where you get the right one there. And this technology is not as complicated when you're using the right hardware.
Yep. For sure.
You might actually be able to simulate the amp in your room so you don't have to lug it onto the stage in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah. At the Studio Rats. It looks like they got some live shows. We're going to have to go visit them on one of their live nights. Definitely want to see what they're doing if they're covering stuff like this. Really like that information. And Music for Miles, we came across this channel on one of our guitar nights, and he's going to talk more about this NAMM A2 release. And like Glenn had said, like some of the other channels that I'd gone to, they're all saying those 2,000, 3,000 boxes right now. They better do something to keep enticing the future guitars, because if they can get that for 200, 250, it's going to be hard to justify 2,000 unless your guitar is 10,000.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is, again, with the sharing and everything else, the fact that these files are so small so that you can just, he captured his 10 different sounds from his amp and he can share them to you, and you can now have, his amp in your house just from having that little piece of software. So that's where it is really like you're able to just share, your amps.
Who would have thought we'd reach a time where there'd be amp piracy? Because technically that's what it is.
Right? I mean, that's what it feels like, right? In terms of that.
If you can simulate the amp without needing the amp, then it is kind of like copy and paste.
And that's where the tones, the blips and bloops that he was playing there, like it is interesting, like the way that those, it knows what to feed through the amp in order to get those responses back, so that it knows now how to build everything else to get that whole tonal vocabulary of what you're going to be putting or what you're going to be asking from it.
Yeah. I understand sound, but even trying to wrap my brain around how this is doing it, it's like, damn, this is some advanced sound engineering.
Because it knows exactly what sound it sent to your amplifier, and now that you have the recording of exactly what came back, it can tell you, okay, it changed in these ways from here to there, and now we know how to put that on any other signal coming in, and you get that exact same type of response.
Yeah. Like I mentioned in the beginning, that Glenn Fricker video where he talks to one of the developers, I'd like to see more videos from this developer, because he does explain some of that to Glenn. It's an awesome interview.
Nice.
And for Miles here, Music for Miles at music-4-miles, and he's a tester. You can see just from the thumbnails. But here he's gonna get more in depth about this A2 upgrade and what you can pull off with this.
Nice.
Bring it on, Miles.
If you've been on Guitar YouTube lately, you've probably seen all the buzz surrounding NAMM A2. Glenn Fricker made a very opinionated video on it. John Cordy made one too, and I'll link both of those videos below because they are definitely worth watching. And a lot of the conversation has centralized around one idea. Is NAMM A2 the beginning of the end for premium amp sims and amp modelers? And after using NAMM the past couple months myself, I don't think it's replacing premium modelers. I'm going to explain why, but I do think it is going to become the new standard that other companies should embrace. Now, if you're new to this, let's talk about what NAMM is. NAMM stands for Neural Amp Modeling. It's an open source capture format that lets people capture their favorite amps and share them online for free. Sites like Tone 3000 have over 25,000 captures you can pick from. For $0, you can get some vintage Marshall sounds. Sodano, Dumbles, Mesas, rare boutique amps, pretty much anything you can imagine. Now, the big buzz that's going on now is the A2 version. And not everyone's talking about this, but A2 has two different formats. There's the full A2 profile. Now, this delivers the highest accuracy possible, and it's probably going to need a lot more processing power to run. And then there's A2 Lite. It's a lighter version of the full A2, but it can be ran on budget modelers like this. This is the GE100 Pro, which can load NAMM profiles. And what's awesome is because this is open source, everybody now can take advantage of it, whether it's a high-end amp modeler with significant processing power or a budget sub $300 modeler. And I just made a video on the new updates to the Lava Studio, and it natively supports NAMM NAMM A2 and Tone 3000. It's basically built into the amp. And before we dive into how it sounds, let's talk about how you can use A2 right now. And even though there's a lot of excitement surrounding NAMM A2, not every piece of hardware or software is going to natively support it yet. And there's some other heavy hitters that natively support NAMM A2. The new Dark Glass pedal that just came out natively supports it. I did a review of this one here. This one's pretty cheap. It's under $300. This is the Moore GE100 Pro Li, battery powered. This thing's not plugged in. This does support NAMM as well, although you do have to convert it to their format. Now this is the Hot Tone Ampero Stage 2, but this also natively supports NAMM profiles. Now they don't support A2 quite yet, but Hot Tone did come out and say in a future firmware upgrade, they will support A2. Whether that's the full version or the light version is yet to be seen. And if you're looking just to record with NAMM A2, you can download the Gateway plugin, which is 100% free. So now let's hear it. This was from the demo I did with the Lava Studio. Hardware aside, the A2 profiles are pristine, especially if you load the full versions. Now, one thing Glenn said in his video that I completely agree with is that gray tone has never been more accessible than now. You don't need thousands of dollars of equipment to get good amp captures, and that's a huge win for all of us. Now, here's where I start seeing things significantly different. It's when people say premium hardware suddenly becomes obsolete because this new NAMM A2 profile is more accurate than something like the Helix or the Quad Cortex. Now, both of those use their own proprietary capturing formats, but there's a lot more things you need to keep in mind when it comes to captures. And the first thing is that free doesn't always mean easy. That's something I don't hear people talking enough about. Yeah, one of the biggest strengths with NAMM and NAMM A2 is it is free and it is open source, but it's also one of its biggest challenges. There are thousands upon thousands of captures available on Tone 3000. Now, that's incredible, but it is community fed, meaning some of the captures are 10 out of 10 outstanding, while some of them are just okay, and some can be downright bad. Not every capture is made equal, especially on Tone 3000. So finding those hidden gems, it does take time and it does take a lot of different testing. Now, compared to something like Neural DSP or the Quad Cortex or even the Fender Tone Master Pro, the term you need to focus on is capture. Now, the Tone Master Pro is using full virtual amps. They profile the amp and they give you full control over it. Same thing with Quad Cortex using their proprietary capturing format. The amps that are built into the Quad Cortex, same thing, they're virtual models of that amp. You get full creative, flexible control over it. What NAMM does is what we call snapshots. It's capturing the tone of a specific amp with specific settings in a specific environment. Now, the Quad Cortex does have the Cortex Cloud where users can pretty much do the same thing, capture it using the Quad Cortex and share those amps. But it is the same thing. It is a capture, not a virtual amp. So when you're going with the bigger premium amp modelers, you're not going to have to second guess, is this model going to be good? Is this a professional capture? Lots of time and money go into the R&D to make sure that the amps that they release on those platforms are professional grade. So with NAMM, you get unlimited possibilities, but with premium amp modelers, you get consistency and ease of use. Now, neither approach is wrong. They're just solving for different problems. Now, another thing I don't see people talking about is your workflow. Now, the free Gateway plugin sounds amazing, but it is just your amp capture and impulse response. If you want to add drives in front, if you want to add effects, reverbs, modulation, it's not built into that platform. Something like Neural DSP's plugin, like this one here, this is the Misha Mansour plugin, everything in the workflow is preset. Your drives are up front, your amp in the middle. With modulation and other time-based effects, you can save it and recall it in seconds. Now, with the native Gateway NAMM plugin, you're going to have to manually set up each one of those effects chains and those workflows yourself. And depending on what system you use, compatibility comes into play. Like I mentioned, the Gateway plugin does not work for Pro Tools, and that happens to be the DAW that I only use. So I'm having to use other third-party plugins like NAMM Universal, or I have to convert the plugin somehow to make it work with Pro Tools. So again, free doesn't always mean easy. Even though some of these cheaper models can run NAMM captures, I think hardware still really matters. So NAMM gives you all of these captures and tones for free. Now what? Well, you need something to run it on. And as we mentioned earlier, processing power comes into play with the different versions of A2. If you want the full version of A2, you need some decent processing power. And not only that, if you want to run, let's say, an A2 profile with a nice IR, and you want to put some time-based effects in there, some pitch effects, and if your modeler has limited DSP, like the more GE100 Li Pro, you're going to be extremely limited to what sounds you can create. Now, compared to something like this, the Quad Cortex Mini, this has significant processing power. You can have so many different effects blocks on here, and using a capture like the A2 on a system like this, if Quad Cortex ever opened up the market to allow NAMM to be loaded on here, you really wouldn't run into processing issues unless you were using tons and tons of resource-intensive effects. And while this costs around $1,500 and this one costs around $300, I would definitely rely on something like this in a live performing environment over the cheaper competition. Now, there's a company called X-Racer, I think I've heard a little bit about. I've even reached out to them to see if they want to get one of their products on the channel, but they're making an amp modeler that is built to natively run NAMM profiles. Also has a significant amount of processing power, and they're putting studio-grade effects built into it. Something like that, I think, would be a huge opportunity for guitarists who are looking for a modeler and want the flexibility of Tone 3000 and all of those different amp profiles, but have a reliable, solid piece of hardware for live and recording use. Now let's talk about one more thing when it comes to hardware. It's effects. Honestly, the reason why I picked the Quad Cortex or the Fender ToneMaster Pro wasn't necessarily for the amount of amp captures that they have. So I maybe have 6 or 7 different amps that I mess with or I use live or record with. So having 25,000 different amps to choose from doesn't really matter to me. But what does matter is the quality of effects. I want top tier drive pedals. I want top tier, especially time-based effects. If you're not having quality effects, it's really going to impact the tones that you're pulling from these new NAMM A2 profiles. People choose these for the professional grade effects. Now, the Fender ToneMaster Pro is a little heavy and a little big, but it has an insane amount of processing power built in, and it has one of the easiest UIs I've ever used with an amp modeler. I know Fender's not super popular right now, but what they did with the Fender ToneMaster Pro is hands down one of the easiest to use professional grade modelers I've ever put my hands on. And it also gives you a lot more options with your ins and outs, MIDI connectivity, stuff like that. And the same goes for fractal, deep routing, advanced editing, and years of firmware development based off of user enhancements. Those things don't just disappear because a free NAMM format exists. And that's really my point. I don't think the amp profiles and amp sounds are becoming the differentiator at this point because, like Glenn said and like many others have said, you can get good tone anywhere for any price. So it comes down to reliability, convenience, workflow, processing power, and even something like foot switch layouts for live use. Those are preferences people who are going to be forking out $1,000 to $2,000 really care about. And that's the thing too, is some of these bigger brand amp modelers, if they added NAMM support, it wouldn't lose any value. It wouldn't become a cheaper unit. It would actually become more valuable, give you more options. Like we saw with impulse responses, that used to be a key selling factor with a modeler. It's like, oh, this amp modeler provides impulse responses. Now it's the standard. And I actually hope that every major amp modeler adapts NAMM. Line 6 Helix, Fractal, Fender ToneMaster Pro, Quad Cortex, everyone. Because if all of those companies supported the same open format, then they would have to compete on innovation instead of locking players into their closed ecosystems. And that's the future I'm excited about. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on future videos, and I'll see you on the next one.
After tonight's episode, multiple Glens will be saying it.
Exactly. And yes, it would add value for them to, include NAMM support on the higher end ones, but whether they do it or not, it depends on what they would have to, what would they have to do to become compatible to do it. And they probably would have no problems doing it. But again, would they want to, or would they want to keep people locked into an ecosystem? That's another question. that we have about some of the bigger companies that lock people into ecosystems on things.
Yeah. He's giving great advice both to guitarists who are considering getting into this and to the manufacturers out there. And he's looking at it realistically, because I know some guitarists who were like, oh, IR is everything now. And eh, I just wanted to like smack him and say, like, everything is not one technology. And IR, what it does is useful in the right places. The way Michael explained it here, NAMM is useful in the right places, and mixing it with like good gear that you can bring on stage is going to be a great future for the use of amp modelers on stage.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it before when it came to when the first plugins were first coming around, and you're able to replace a physical piece of hardware with an actual plugin, right? When we started into that, all of a sudden people were saying, "Oh, that's going to be the end of the physical hardware in general, with all of with all the physical hardware, all the pedals."
Yay! I don't need tubes, but for some reason I still want that amp that has tubes.
Right, and that was one of the things. Also, there's been a big story about that, where tubes, the whole idea of using tubes, like they kind of went out when we went to digital, and now it's all back to get to that sound, because you're trying to get to that sound.
Well, here, with the open source mentality, which I always love, the best development happens when you can develop. If they make things proprietary, if Line 6 says, oh, yeah, we'll bring NAMM in, but we're going to do it our way and it won't work with this technology needs to be cross-device compatible. Otherwise, we've seen proprietary technology and how slow it develops.
Well, the good thing is that this is already out, right? So like, this is one of those things where the cat's already out of the bag. So the fact that people are already sharing, and there's already thousands, tens of thousands or whatever of models that are out there available for free that people can just get. We can go download them right now. Even if you don't have the hardware, you could download them and then utilize them when you get the hardware. That way you're ahead of the game. And if they do disappear or get taken down for whatever reason, you would still have the resources there. But again, it feels like, since it is already out there and all of that, it feels like they're already past that, so that it's basically, the bigger companies are going to have to adapt and adopt, or, probably get put to the wayside, as far as, if their competition decide to, adopt these things and they don't, then that's going to be
his point at the end there, that I hope these big companies will consider it too, Michael. It will push towards innovation, and competition is great if it leads to innovation. In this market, there's room for the $200 solution and the $2,000 solution.
Yeah, to me, it would be a question of how hard you can
go. He would still go with a $2,000 solution for stage, because you can't go cheap when you're dealing with like reliability on stage.
Reliability, and as well when they're talking about processing power, where again the $200 solution would probably be much lower in the processing power, and the $2,000 solution should have maybe not 10 times more power, but should have considerably more processing power, so that you can do a larger effects chain with more heavily dependent.
And that's why when he mentioned this A2 update, he mentioned also there's an A2 Lite.
Right.
And that's what the interview that Glenn had was all about, how they've found a way to do what normally took this much processor, and they're using ARM processors for it. These are cheap processors. And they're super effective for what they're using them for. They've cut like the processing in some cases 70% plus on much cheaper hardware. So that A2 Lite is gonna, the entryway into this technology starts at free. Go get the player and try out the models. When you decide, I want a pedal, so I can turn my distortion on and off and pick the distortion I want. Anything from $50 at this point up is going to start to give you something you can stomp on.
Yep. And that's a good spot to be.
Yeah. There's very little resistance to me. If I was a guitarist right now, why wouldn't I at least try this out?
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like so much fun too.
Yeah.
Anytime, like when I got the Line 6 and it has all the different effects in there and all the different sounds, and this one sounds like AC/DC, this one sounds like Led Zeppelin. Like you can get those tones, and it just as soon as you start playing, like you'll feel like it wants to play a certain song. Like that tone sounds like this song, and then that tone sounds like this song. You just find yourself noodling off into different things that you never really tried, like you mentioned. You're trying things that you hadn't tried before because the sound brings you there.
Either the note makes me want to go somewheres or the patch.
Yeah. Sometimes both.
And once in a while, it's actually internal. I'm in a mood, so I want this patch and I want to use this note.
There you go. Nice.
So, for our last one, we heard mention of the quad core as they talked about the technology, and it got me interested in like, what is this? And neural DSP, the ones who make the Parallax, are behind this one, and it's one that a lot of guitarists playing around with this. This is the one they've been going to, and from what he had mentioned, he was saying they haven't brought in NAMM yet, but I was under the impression that if they haven't, they're about to. So I'm not sure, but Kian Hushman, I hope I said that right, live at Kian Hushman Live, is going to give us a demo of this quad Cortex, a guitar rig, playback, and in-ears with one quad Cortex, which I think some guitarists would love to stack them. And some of the gear I'm seeing that they're selling now of this looks like it's putting 4 NAMM players into a pedal.
Nice.
And he's probably going to be using this on this string theory clinic, which would be cool. I like strings.
Yeah, string theory is cool.
But let's see what this quad Cortex can handle.
So I've been using the Quad Cortex Mini for a little while now, but I've recently had to figure out how to use it as obviously my guitar tone, a playback device, and an in-ear mixer at the same time. I just wanted to make this video super quick. I haven't bothered to set up the room in the way that I usually set it up for videos, but I thought this was really cool, and I thought that someone out there would really benefit from this because it's pretty much pushing the Quad Cortex to its absolute limit, I think. And for this use case, it is unbelievable. It's so handy. You might be asking yourself, why would you ever need that? Why would you need to use the Quad Cortex or Quad Cortex Mini as, your tone, obviously, but then also a playback device and an in-ear mix as well? Good question. The reason why that needs to happen in this case is because in 2 weeks from now, when this video drops, Toby Peterson Stewart, the amazing bass player from I Built the Sky and the Omnific, of course, and myself will be traveling all around Australia. We're going to go to Brisbane, Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, Adelaide, in that order, starting on the 27th of July to host the String Theory Modern Musician Masterclass, where of course I will be playing some tracks, Toby will be playing some tracks, and I really just wanted to find the most compact way of being able to play my tunes live, obviously in this case, without a bassist and a drummer and all that stuff, because it's just a masterclass. I'm just there doing it myself. But how can I use the Quad Cortex Mini for my tones like I normally would when I'm playing live? And how can I use my laptop that I would for the playback like I normally do when I'm live? How can I basically use the same patches, same MIDI changes, same session, same tracks, and also give myself an in-ear mix without the need for like an actual dedicated playback rack or in-ear mixer or anything like that? And the answer is both pretty simple and a little bit confusing if you've never kind of dabbled into this best So I'm really going to try my best to explain this as articulately as possible. And we're going to give some sound examples as well as to both what the audience will hear through front of house and what I will be hearing in my ears as well. Okay, so there's a lot of moving parts to this. It's actually not that difficult in theory if you've done anything like this before, but I'm going to try my best to explain it as slow as I can because it can get a little bit all over the place, but I promise you it's not that crazy. Let's tackle it one at a time. So using the Quad Cortex Mini as my guitar tone, pretty self-explanatory. I got my guitar, I plug it into input 1 of the Quad Cortex Mini, And all the patches that I'm using, I've actually got Cortex control up on here. You can see that I've got all my songs loaded as I would when I'm playing live, you know, and they all load up as per normal. The session that I'm using to do the tracks and do the MIDI and stuff, again, is the exact same one that we do when we're playing live. So as you can see, it's got all the click tracks, all the cues, drum and bass tracks, which are on in this case because, you know, it's doing masterclasses, it's not playing a live performance. But, you know, other things like, you know, synthy guitars and just general backing track layers and stuff like that, stuff that, you know, I can't play unless I had 3 sets of hands on me. They're obviously in there as well, and subs and all that stuff. And then of course the MIDI. So we've got scene changes, we've got whammy automation, which I've done videos on in the past, as well as volume and gate automation and all that stuff. Because I'm using the Quad Cortex Mini as my interface essentially, and because it's plugged into the laptop via USB, the MIDI just feeds straight into the Quad Cortex via USB, which is really, really handy. Like I don't need a separate interface with a MIDI cable to then run into the Quad Cortex. Because the Cortex Mini is the interface in this case, this is the thing that is both pushing tracks out to front of house, or in this case, you know, a PA in a small room for a masterclass. And it's also doing the in-ear mix for my ears only, which has the things like, you know, the click and the cues and stuff like that. The way that those two separate sends are like delegated and split off are done in Ableton in this case, or whatever DAW that you're using. But to set it up, it's super straightforward. The first thing to note is that, you know, in the Quad Cortex Mini, as you can see in this patch for Pulse, every single output of every lane of whatever the tone is being output to USB 7 and 8. It's not being output to a physical output on the Quad Cortex Mini like it would be when I'm playing live, you know, with an XLR cable. Instead, because I'm using the Mini as an interface, I'm feeding it back into the DAW so that way it can feed back out of the Quad Cortex Mini in any way that I like, which in this case, 1 and 2 is again going to the PA, and 3 and 4 is going to my ears. The way that it's going to my ears is pretty sick. I've just got this little adapter here. You can see I've got left and right with the black and red, and then that goes into this little like aux adapter thing, and I just plug my in-ears right into it. It's that simple. To get your signal and your playing, you know, back into the DAW, it's pretty simple. You just need to make another track, and for the input of that track, you can select, you know, USB input 7 and 8, which is exactly what the USB output 7 and 8 is on here. As long as those two match, like the output of your lane and then the input of your track in the DAW, you'll always be able to hear it. The way that you're hearing this right now is exactly how it would be in the masterclass in a couple of weeks. I've literally just got outputs 1 and 2 coming out of the Quad Cortex Mini via XLR, going into my actual computer, not my laptop. I've got it on my home desktop PC into that interface, like I would be doing, you know, in the masterclass. I'd probably be putting it into a mixer or just straight into the PA or something like that. So what you're hearing is essentially what's going to come out of the PA when we're doing the masterclasses, which is really sick. So if I open up AbleSet, which is our like, you know, live show controller, and I pick a song and I start playing, you should hear what will be heard when I play. Let's see if I can do this on the fly. That I'm actually playing it, you know? So that's pretty easy. And getting the mix for that right is as simple as just adjusting, you know, the tracks on Ableton, or again, whatever DAW it is that you're using. I've just adjusted the levels so that, you know, you can hear the track, you can hear me. And again, whatever I do on the computer just comes straight out of outputs 1 and 2, because those are the main outputs on the Quad Cortex Mini. And when you're using it as an interface, that is what, you know, the outputs are. Now for the in-ear mix, it's again mostly done in Ableton, and the output is simply just fed out of outputs 3 and 4 of the Quad Cortex Mini. And in this case, it's really as simple as just adding a return track, which I've got out here, which I've labeled, you know, IEM 3 and 4. And then from here, you know, on every single track,
I basically have a send where I can send exactly what I need and what I want in my ears. So as you can see here, click, cues, and all that stuff is absolutely dimed. I want the click to be super loud in my ears. Drums are pretty loud. Bass I've got a little bit down so it just doesn't muddy up my ears. The guitars and tracks are a little quieter. And then my actual guitar playing and the signal coming from the quad is pretty much just as loud as the drums, so that when they're against each other, I've got that steady pulse, that steady metronome with the click underneath. And that's kind of how I dial my in-ear mix pretty much. It's mostly just drums, guitar, lots of click, and everything else kind of takes a little bit of a back seat. And this is what that sounds like. So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So quick summary again, just in case you got lost along the way. The Quad Cortex Mini is the interface that is both pushing tracks and myself to front of house while also having a separate send out of outputs 3 and 4 for my ears. My guitar plugs into the Quad Mini as normal in input 1. I've got all of my tones set to the virtual USB output because I'm using the Quad as an interface, and then inside the door I've made another track and the input is the exact same output that corresponds to what I've set on the Quad. That way my guitar signal can pass through into the door, and then from there, as you would do normally, I set the balance for the tracks, I set the balance for myself, and that goes straight out to output 1 and 2, which again would go to front of house, or in this case a set of PAs for a bunch of masterclasses around the country. And then by creating a separate return track inside Ableton and setting the output for that as the physical output 3 and 4, I can then take this little adapter, get my in-ears, and just create a separate send for myself where I can give myself click, I can give myself a little less bass, and all the stuff that I would typically do when I'm playing live. It's really sick, the fact that I can just bring my laptop, bring my Mini, bring my guitars, and I've basically got a portable rig that I can just set up and play anywhere. It's really handy for things like this, like the masterclass. And you know, if I ever play anywhere else, like at NAMM or maybe even Guitar Summit later in the year, I haven't even touched the surface. You know, there's so many things that you can do with this, obviously, because it's all inside the laptop. You know, you can start using plugins, you can start mixing things and really dialing it in. And as you probably heard, everything's kind of dialed in on my end as much as it can be. Like there's a lot of different EQ blocks on my Quad Cortex patches so that when I stop playing, it's like very noticeable. But if I play a certain way and play exactly how I recorded the track, it should almost sound like I'm just miming, but I'm not. Clearly. That is the beauty of having a device like the Quad Cortex Mini, where all of my guitar tones are Neuro DSP guitar tones. It all fits on here, and the way that it all integrates, it is exactly like the track, which is really cool. But yeah, just wanted to do a quick video and show you guys how I'm doing this because I think it will be helpful to some of you. But yeah, if you're down to talk more of this nerdy stuff, as well as things like, you know, guitar tone technique and how to navigate 2026 as, you know, that social media influencer slash actual musician archetype, these are all things that Toby and I are going to be talking about in the masterclass in a couple weeks time. It starts on the 27th of July. We're going to Brisbane, Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, and Adelaide in that order, 5 days straight. Tickets are available in the description below. I'll leave it in a pinned comment as well. We're really looking forward to it. We're going to be playing music there together as well, and I'm not sure if we'll ever get the chance to do that again. If you're watching this when the video comes out, it'll all make sense in a couple weeks, I promise. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
All makes sense in the next one.
Peace, Keon. I'd love to see you playing live.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a very slick setup. Serious control of his in-ear monitoring there.
Yeah, I like it.
You're used to that kind of control with the Personas. The fact that he managed to like get that Quad Cortex to do that, very creative.
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. Basically, the like the looper pedal that I have, like the RC300 or the RC30, like the different looper pedals that there are. Similar ideas as far as you can have, you know, inputs, you can bring in a regular output, you can have a headphones output, you can do certain things, but you wouldn't have as much control over like mixing and all that kind of thing. This has like really the full, you know, full mixing station control as well as the full
as well as MIDI control. When he mentioned, I was like, damn, not only was I interested in what you're doing with the tones there, but you're sending MIDI controls. what did they call that pedal?
The wah? The whammy?
Well, that pedal in itself, expression pedal. Wow,
Sure.
brain farted on expression. The ability to use things like that with MIDI control, you can do bends or volume changes with your feet, and
That's big. The what I like most about the volume control with the feet, especially for keyboard players, is you go to a different patch and it's too loud, you can bring it down. You can normalize using that. So that's what a lot of people will use it for. Not so much to, swell or drop off during a song, but more you switch into a new patch, and if there is a big shift, instead of having to reach up with a hand and change a volume pedal,
well, it's a really good point, because when you're switching between distortion presets, if you've ever had an effects processor, you get different level and signal as you're switching between different distortions. Sometimes you got to pull back on the master volume because you're using a hot preset, and then once in a while you push it all the way up.
Exactly. Or you have one particular preset where it's really, really quiet because it's an acoustic simulator or whatever, and you have to really get the volume all the way up for that. Good stuff though. I love what he did with that.
I'm really liking. I mean, we've gone down the amp sim rabbit holes and the IR rabbit holes, but I think NAMM is going to make a great complement and an evolution along with these other technologies. Your solution will be a little bit of all of it.
Yeah, and as you said, the fact that it doesn't require as much processing power, or it can be done on the simpler processors, the cheaper processors, it just makes everything that much better, that you don't have to go get high end, like a gaming PC in order to do something like this,
To try out this technology, it's open source. You just got to go start with the player, start with downloading something, see if it's cool. And from there, the idea of being able to make your own model with the amp that you do have and carry that amp without carrying it somewhere. It's going to be a fun time to be a guitarist.
And again, for so many people, even if if they don't even have one amp, they can get the sounds they want even just through their headphones, like on their computer. They can actually plug in a guitar and have real effect sound.
Hey, I'm going over my friend's house who has the amp.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was at Kian Husman Live. Nice to see that in action, and creative approach to solving multiple problems there. The monitoring and being able to get your guitar solution all in one little quad core. I commend you.
And it reminded me, hearing the click track at that volume also reminded me of somebody else was talking about a story in a studio where they were listening to, as they were walking past, they just heard the headphones that the drummer had been listening to. And the click track was just like a hammer. And he was like, holy crap. I'm like, I can't believe you'd be listening to that for hours on end in the studio.
I like the little female voice counting 1, 2, 3, 4. I was like, he's got an Ange.
Yeah, exactly. Got to have those count-ins. Know exactly where those changes come in. That's how you get those cues, and that's also why you make sure you don't switch outputs 1 and 2 and outputs 3 and 4, because you'd be sending all that to the front of the house, and you'd be in your ears like, "Where's my cues?" And you hear 1, 2, 3.
And that's why you need a 3 and 4 on your mixer. I was explaining that to someone the other night. They're looking at a mixer and thinking like 1 and 2 is all I need, and for their particular need, they actually do need a 3 and 4 so that they can route out a separate signal that needs to get processed, and you can't use 1 and 2 there. You need 3 and 4 for something else.
Yeah. Well, when Mike and I do, live gigs with big bands, some of the bands have, a 10-piece band, and we have, we're not going to have 10 monitors out there necessarily, but we sometimes will have 6, so he'll have 6 separate mixes going out. Some of them are IEM, in-ear mixes that people have. Other ones are an actual monitor that they have on the floor in front of them, a wedge blowing up at them. But the idea is that he has, and he mixes each of those individually. So once he gets everybody's tone, or everybody's volume set at the very beginning, gets everybody for the main front of house mix. He gets that all set. Then he comes back around. He says, okay, now for the guitar monitor in front of you, what do you want in your monitor? It's going to be, you want to hear the bass, you want to hear some drum, you want to hear all the vocals, whatever somebody wants, because you'll get all kinds of answers. Like, not everybody wants the same things. Not everybody wants the whole mix. Like this guitar player, I don't want any bass because I hear plenty of him, or I don't want to hear any drums because I got plenty of him. I want to hear plenty of vocals, and I need to hear the guitar player on the other side. So like there'll be certain individual things that each person wants, but a lot of them will be very different from one band to another, where this drummer wants to hear all kinds of different things, where that drummer doesn't want anything except the kick drum. He only wants to feel the boom from the kick drum coming at him. That's it.
With that personas, Mike's kind of like Oprah. You get a mix. You get a mix. Everybody gets that thing can output as many as it can input.
And he's actually changed it up a few times, where like at first we were using the Personas 24 with the faders on top and all that, but he switched to the rack mount entirely. But he also has two boards chained together now. So like there's, so we have a 24 and a 16 chained together, and he has a whole separate output setup that he did it, custom at the bottom. So he has the main outs and all of those monitor mixes all just in a line where we can just do it all from one place. So it makes it easier for the connections and disconnections. But it's something that he has to remember what everything's plugged in all over. He has to remember which board is master and slave. And, if it's on this snake, it's going to that board. And if it's on that snake, it's going to this board. Like, he has a lot of mental gymnastics he has to do to keep that all straight. But he built the thing, so he knows what he's doing with all of that.
And thankfully, most of the time your gigs are with familiar setups where it's like, we got a template for this band. And
at the same time, a template is a great place to start, but you never want to just hit a template and go. That's the thing. It's like,
you still got to tweak up a template. It's not like every song I make is going to start there and stay there.
Yeah. Well, and just because the guitar player was coming in at this level last time doesn't mean that he's at the same exact dialed in on each of the phases of his volume at the same
he might have changed his preset in that NAMM plugin, and now he's coming in super hot.
Exactly. And that's why, every single gig, he's doing that level check first, and then see how it is in the main, and then comes back to what you need in your monitor. And that's all going to change throughout the night also. Like, he's, as we're going on, after the first or second song, you might hear, you might see somebody in the band, I'm basically watching everybody in the band to see who's looking for a change. I'm like, guitar player's looking for you. And, you just give a hand signal. I need more of him, on the keys, like, okay. We'll give you a little bit more, and you see, oh yeah, nice. Okay.
We were talking last night on Whip It Out Wednesday about like, how do you know when a song's done? Like, that when you look at the drummer and you're just waiting, he's holding the stick up and
yeah. And a lot of times with the bass, I'll just bring the neck up and the head, come up with the drummer, like, and
then once in a while, like Uncle Dick did last night, yeah, and that song like Steve Tyler, shooby doo wop wop, like,
and then you're out. Yeah,
it's not done yet. He's still holding a note.
And a lot of times, like, just at an open jam or whatever, we jammed with somebody new at a place last Tuesday, so a drummer we hadn't played with before, and we're doing songs, like, just saying, hey, how about this song? He's like, okay, I'll follow you. And all right. So he doesn't even know the song that we're doing, but, and it's got changes and all that kind of thing. But basically, anytime it's coming up to a spot where there's going to be a change, if I'm just kind of doing my thing the whole time, and then when there's going to be a change coming up, like, I watch the guitar player, and the drummer sees me watch the guitar player, and he knows that there's something coming. And then the guitar player gives a slight signal, and then we go from there. So it's one of those things where even just little slight things where you just send your attention somewhere a little bit, those are things people pick up on.
I consider that musical telepathy. We'll cover that one night, because there's a synchronization that goes on with the right band members.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff. I mean, that's one of those things that when you get a thing like that happening on stage, it's fun. It's like magic.
Yeah, it's like falling in love all over again. And we'll be back next week for you to fall in love with us again.
That's right.
I
right
like
here on a Thursday.
I like these tech nights, and tonight was a tech night, even though it was a guitar driven.
But yeah, and I love the direction that stuff is going. And as we said, the fact that it's starting as open source as it is just I love that, and I think that's a good sign for where it's going.
Yeah,
because-
for me, that guarantees it's future proof, because if it's open source, as long as somebody wants to develop it, it will get developed. And there's a lot of people who do want to use it.
Yep. And the fact that the resource requirements came down also. So, you can use the cheaper processors to get the stuff done. That's another bonus.
Yeah, for the most part, it doesn't cost anything until you decide to buy a pedal.
Yep. And then you get serious.
Yeah. And we are serious. We will be back next week.
We'll be back.
Night, everyone.
Take care.
We cover digital audio workstations and music tools. We explore theory, gear in 82. How to arrange, compose, and the art of arranging. Taking a look at AI and how the times have changed. On a PC or a Mac and even with a mobile device. We'll be talking about it all every Thursday night. From software to plugins and synths that entice. Dive deep into tech and let creativity take flight. Talkin IT. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. From bedroom producers to seasoned pros, we're breaking it down so knowledge grows. Whether you're a DJ or a beat making wizard, we got the tips and tricks to make your sound sizzle. Mixing and mastering, that's our jam. With the tutorials and tips on how much rev. Get the best quality from your setup and gear. Tune in every week and lend us your ear. We're talking IT. Come and join in and have some fun. It's highly educational with a lot to learn. We're talking We're talking